What's up, my beautiful people? Exile451 here with another daily dose of Reddit Hope and Happy, and today we're going into r/AskReddit, where lying to kids can make you a hero. So, let's get to it. So the AskReddit question was, what is the funniest lie to tell kids? My baby sister was 4 when I was 20. One day it was storming very hard, very loud lightning. Sister was terrified but eventually fell asleep. While she was napping, I had to run out into the rain for a bit and was absolutely soaked. Maybe 10 minutes later it stopped raining and my sister woke up and saw me and asked why I was so wet. I said, well, since you were so scared, I went and fought the storm. And I won, and pointed outside. She ran to look, saw it was clearing up, and the utter awe in her face when she looked back at me, I was your hero for a day. That's just sweet. Way to win at being a sibling. My kids were getting the vaccinations, and the whole trip there I told them that getting shots in the eyeballs was the most effective way. They were terrified. When we got to the doctor's office and the nurse came in with the needles, I said, isn't it true that getting your shots in the eyeball is the most effective way to prevent future illnesses? She said she heard about a study they were conducting and didn't know the results. She then looked at my kids and asked if she could give them their shots in their arms instead. You never saw kids so happy and excited to roll up their sleeves in your life. All smiles and no tears. Hey, you do what you gotta do. When I was little, I built a Lego remote control for the TV. My dad was like, hey, see if it will change the channel. I kept hitting it, nothing. All of a sudden, a few channels change and I'm screaming and jumping up and down. Then it stopped working. My dad goes, that was magic. Awesome, Lego remote. Thanks, Dad. Aw, these are more wholesome than funny. Follow-up. My dad did something similar. He said our new camcorder was voice-activated, which would have been magic in the 90s or whenever it was. Made me say, camcorder, play video. And holy crap, it played through its cable onto the TV. Which made me say, camcorder, pause video. And holy crap, it did. It had a small remote that he was pushing the buttons on. My sister told me that yellow leaves tasted like bananas and brown tasted like chocolate. I apparently went and ate leaves, but came back and told her they don't taste how she said they would. She told me I must have eaten a bad batch, so I continued to try to find and eat these tasty leaves. Okay, better leaves than snow. If someone tells you to eat yellow or brown snow, don't do it. I think we all know why. That, as their father, I could change their names whenever I wanted to. One time I pretended to get on the phone with the Arizona name registry and renamed my 2 kids Snargle and Gorf because they kept misbehaving. They were bawling. I could barely keep a straight face. When me and my brothers were kids and complained about something, my dad would go to the phone and say, hello, complaint department, and describe our grievance. He said the complaint department for everybody was in Calgary and was run by someone called Chief Oakanaoke, and he was getting tired of our complaints. I believed that for the longest time. When we were in the car and it was raining, my mom would wait for a bridge or tunnel, and as we approached, she would tell us she was going to make the rain stop in 3, 2, 1. She told us she could only make the rain stop for a minute because it made her so tired. My siblings and I were convinced she was magic. My brother used to eat random things, and then ask us if it would kill him. He did this until he was like 9 years old. This is how the conversations would go. Hey OP, one of my friends ate like 4 blue crayons. Do you think he's gonna die? No, he'll probably be okay. Oh, thank goodness, it was me. I ate 4 blue crayons. One time, my mom was on the phone and he was super concerned and wouldn't take "I'm on the phone right now" as an answer, and kept pestering her. So whenever he was bugging her and asking her the exact same question, Mom, I think OP may have eaten some of the Play-Doh you got for me. Is he gonna die? Like 1 bajillion times because he ate the Play-Doh. My mom turned and said, yes. We found him in the bathroom sink brushing his teeth and crying. When asked, he said through tears and toothpaste, I knew it was gonna happen eventually, just not from Play-Doh. I didn't even eat a lot of it. Okay, so that's funny, but at the same time a little cruel about telling your kid they're going to die from eating Play-Doh, but I mean, I guess if it's gonna get them to stop eating random stuff, I guess, maybe? I read about a father who told his daughter she was half human, half mermaid, but she had the top half of a mermaid and the bottom half of a human. Maybe not the funniest, but it's sure cute that they got her to believe they are half mermaid. I mean, how would that work? Wouldn't they see that they're like a fish for the top half? I was on a flight where a kid saw the button for calling a flight attendant. Didn't know what it was, but clearly was thinking about pressing it, and so he asked his dad what it did. His dad said it opens a trapdoor under your seat and drops you out of the bottom of the plane. Afterwards, the kid spent the whole flight intrigued by the button, thinking about and talking about pushing it, but too worried to actually do it. I guess that's one way to keep them from constantly calling an attendant. My sister was about 8 and was asking my dad about buttons in the car while Mom and I were in the store. She asked him what the seat warmer button did, and since it had a picture of wavy lines above a chair, Dad told her it was the ejector button and would launch her chair out of the car. She acted like she didn't believe him, but kept asking about it until Mom and I got back in the car. She immediately went for a second opinion. Mom, what's this button do? What, this one? Presses it. No! Dad still tells that story 15 years later and can barely get through it without wheezing. My sister is less amused. I forgot how it started, but my husband, boyfriend at the time, was trying to convince his 4-year-old brother that his feet were going to fall off. The lie got more and more elaborate, like explaining how he'd have to learn how to walk around on his ankles until his adult feet came in, etc. He was skeptical even when I agreed that it was true, that everyone loses their baby feet before their adult feet grew in. At the time, their house was being upgraded from dial-up internet to DSL, and the phone tech was wandering in and out. He happened to come in towards the end and said, "Oh yeah, I remember when I lost my baby feet. Took a year for my new ones to come in." Little brother's face fell immediately because it must be true if the stranger was corroborating. He ran out of the room to tell his mom, yelling, "But I like my feet!" And we all laughed. Even his mom when she found out. He's an adult now, and my husband and I still razz him about it when we see him. My ex served Salisbury steaks one evening. My stepdaughter asked what was in them. I told my teenage stepdaughter that Salisburys were similar to cattle, but only were ranched in Australia. I developed an entire backstory. She was slightly skeptical, so I suggested she ask her teacher. I didn't expect she'd do it in front of the whole class. She was not happy with me for 2 weeks. Well, I can imagine. There's very few things that a teenager dislikes more than being publicly humiliated with a stupid question in class. When my youngest was in infant school, aged 5 to 7, I could see his playground from our living room window. And when he came home from school, I used to say things like, "Did you have a good game of football after lunch today?" Or, "I saw you playing tag with Steven." He used to be amazed, and I just used to say, "Mums know everything." This lasted for a couple of years, and now it's a family joke, but it's changed to Nana knows everything. My father, may he rest in peace, had 3 toes amputated. When in public pools with kids around, he would stick his foot out of the water and tell them a pool shark got him. You've never seen little kids literally run on water to get out of the pool. Okay, to be fair, that would have freaked the crap out of me when I was a kid because my biggest fear in life is sharks. And actually, funny story along with that. When I was 5, I think? Yeah, 5. My dad took me to one of my usual swim meets, and the thing is, my mom usually took me, so she knew all my events. My dad just basically kept asking my coach, is he in this one? Is he in this one? And she told him at one point, well, we're missing someone for this, so throw him in. And it was the 25 meter or yard, whatever that pool was, backstroke. I kept trying to tell my dad, I don't swim backstroke. It's not my stroke. I don't swim backstroke. And he's like, well, you gotta get in. Your coach said they need someone. And so he basically just shoved me in, and I'm sitting there on the edge of the pool waiting for that starting bell. And as soon as it goes, I am off like a shot. I was at the other end and out of that water before the rest of the kids in that event were even halfway through. Because I was that terrified I was going to get a chunk taken out of my back. So I can relate with these kids. Funny enough though, winning that event with that time actually took me to regionals for the 6 and under group. So, yeah. I mean, I didn't go any further than that, but still, it was kind of interesting how that played out. I convinced my kids I was a Jedi. I waved my right hand to turn up the volume on my car, while secretly using my left hand to turn up the volume with the steering wheel controls. I did the same thing with the electronic controls for my seat. When they challenged me to do something else, I replied that I had already done too much because a Jedi should never use the Force for trivial things. Well, I can actually see that because there is that scene in episode 2 where Anakin's cutting the fruit using the Force for Padme, and he's like, Obi-Wan would be very cross if he saw this. So, yeah. Say what you will about the prequel trilogy, and admittedly, the script writing is just absolutely horrific at some points, but they do have their moments. I work in a giant dome theater in a museum, so we see a lot of kids. For a while, we had a movie called Great White Shark. Whenever a kid asked if it was scary, I'd say, no, the movie isn't scary. Now, when we fill the theater up with water and release the live sharks, that's scary. You're such a jerk. I once told this long story completely straight-faced to my cousin that I can't eat chocolate because of allergies. Even the tiniest piece would kill me. I said this, looking into his eyes and eating chocolate. He went to leave the room and he disappeared behind the wall. And I heard, "Wait a minute." I never laughed so hard in my life. I had major heart surgery when I was a child. Tubes hooked up to my abdomen left permanent scars that make it appear I have 3 belly buttons. My 7-year-old nephew asked what they were, and I told him I have 3 belly buttons because my dad is an alien and his people have 3 belly buttons. I showed him Jupiter through my telescope and told him that is my dad's planet. I said it is a secret and he can't tell anyone. The government will take me away. The only other person who knows is his aunt, my wife. He waits until everyone leaves the room, including his parents, and whispers, "Is it okay now?" I say yes. Then he fires off questions about my dad, his people, and his home planet. He's 10 now. I bought the Hamilton Instrumentals album last night. I have every intention of playing it in the car and telling my daughter that we must have worn out the regular Hamilton CD. She's 12. I can't remember who told me this when I was a kid, but it took me a surprisingly long time to figure out it was a lie. If you keep a fly from landing for 5 minutes, it will die of exhaustion. Result? Every kid in the house picks a fly and wears themselves out chasing it all afternoon because the clock starts over every time the stupid thing lands on the ceiling and you don't have a shoe to throw. I was in my 30s thinking back on fun times in my childhood when it hit me that some adult just wanted me to run in circles for their amusement. Yep. No, you got played. When my son was about 3, he was in the habit of falling asleep on the couch, not having yet put on his pajamas. I suppose that's on me, but anyway, I would dutifully carry him up to his bed, strip off his pants, and tuck him in. This went on for a while before he started wondering where his pants had gone. Knowing he was 3 and a bit skittish, in an effort to get him to change at a reasonable pre-bedtime hour, I told him the pants ghost must have taken them. The pants ghost, of course, removes pants from children that have fallen asleep in their pants. If you don't want the ghost to visit, put on your PJs before bedtime. That worked out fairly well. It really paid off a couple years later when we visited St. Louis and went up in the arch. On the way down, trapped with us for 5 long minutes, was a young man and his girlfriend. Well, my boy forgot to change at the hotel the night before and had been visited by the pants ghost, and was excited to tell the young couple all about it. The guy was a good sport and stifled his laughter while asking questions about the ghost. Meanwhile, Mom and I were quietly laughing our butts off. Alas, not too long after that, my suggestion to go change into PJs if you don't want the ghost to come tonight was met with a stern, "I know it's you, Daddy." Bittersweet, bittersweet. Well, better the pants ghost than the underwear gnomes. There's more funny or uplifting AskReddit content in the playlist link on your left, or if you want to see the video YouTube thinks is best for you, go ahead and click that link on the right. Now you guys, stay safe, stay healthy, stay inside if you're supposed to. I will see you all tomorrow. Until then, I'm Exile451. Stay beautiful, people.